Have you ever planned a cycling trip expecting stunning landscapes only to end up in industrial areas or stuck on a stressful road with speeding cars? We've been there. Not all cycle routes are created equal, and choosing the right one can make or break your trip. Today, we're breaking down exactly what makes a cycling route great, based on our experience riding tens of thousands of kilometers across Europe. Apart from the cycle routes as such, infrastructure is crucial to make for a good cycling experience.
Hi, I'm Vera.
And I'm Soredi Spaghetti.
Welcome to our channel, where we explore the best cycling routes and talk about other cycling topics.
We've created a rating system based on 8 key aspects that we use for our other videos making recommendations. And because these things decide on whether your trip is a nightmare or a dream come true, we decided to look at the cycle routes with more scrutiny and share our thoughts with you.
Our evaluations should also help traffic planners improve cycling infrastructure, because quite frankly, some routes need serious work. So let's spread the message and showcase best practices.
The 8 criteria. So what are we looking at? We're looking at landscape and atmosphere, surface quality, safety, services, continuity and simplicity, infrastructure, accessibility, and the suitability for families.
Landscape and atmosphere. Scenery is subjective, but let's be real. Cycling next to a busy motorway just isn't the same as riding along a peaceful canal in France. Variety, natural beauty, and an enjoyable atmosphere all play a role. We rate this from 1, boring or unpleasant, to 10, absolutely stunning. Since planners can't move mountains, this factor isn't weighted as heavily. Let me explain it in more detail on a scale of 1 to 10. Only 1 point when it's appalling, 2 points when it's barely bearable, get me out of here. 3 points when it's uninteresting. 4 points, it could be nicer, but acceptable. 5 points, it's unremarkable, but nothing disturbing. 6 points when it's sweet, but unremarkable. We give it 7 points when it's charming. 8 points when it's really nice, and 9 very impressive. And 10 points when it's absolutely stunning.
Surface quality. Nothing ruins a ride faster than bad roads. Loose gravel, deep sand or potholes? No thanks. A smooth surface can make all the difference, so we rate this from unrideable to smooth as a baby's bottom. Planners have full control over this, so it gets double weight in our system. So this is how we award the points. 1 point if it's unpaved, dangerous and basically useless. 2 points if it's paved or unpaved with serious damage. 3 points if it's unpaved with poor quality. 4 if it's paved with poor quality. 5 points if it's unpaved with minor damages. 6 if it's paved with minor damages. 7 if it's unpaved but with a good surface. 8 if it's paved with a good surface. 9 if it's just really mostly smooth, just with small minor flaws. And 10 if it's smooth as a baby's bottom.
Safety. This is a big one. Does the route keep cyclists safe from traffic? Are there hidden dangers? Would you feel comfortable bringing your kids? We give safety a double weighting because a bad design can literally be life-threatening. Only 1 point when it's a near-death experience. 2 points when it requires a knight's armor. 3 points, it's okay for brave cyclists. 4 points when it's okay for adults, but not for families with children. 5 points when it's generally okay, but with major and minor issues. We give it 6 points when there are one major issue and several minor ones. 7 when we have one major issue. 8 points when there are several minor issues. 9 points when there is only one minor issue. And full points if there are 0 issues.
Services. Cycling through the middle of nowhere with no food or water? That's not fun. We check for cafes, shops, repair stations, and even multilingual info boards. But since services depend on the region, we only give this a half weighting. We're down to 1 point if we're in the middle of no man's land, and you have to bring everything yourself. 2 points if great detours are necessary and not much choice is available. 3 points if great detours are necessary, but there would be sufficient services if you look. 4 points if minor detours are necessary, but only limited options. 5 points if minor detours are necessary with sufficient services. 6 points if minor detours are necessary and they're well signed. 7 points if some services are available but others aren't well indicated. 8 if services en route are sufficiently available. 9 points if there are plenty of services with further options indicated. And 10 points if you're basically cycling through a food market.
Continuity and simplicity. Ever had to stop and check your phone every 5 minutes because the signs are unclear? A well-marked, consistent path makes a huge difference. If a route feels like a guessing game, it gets a low score. If it's so clear a blindfolded cyclist could navigate it, it gets a 10. 1 point when we feel completely lost. 2 points when it's frequent inconsistencies, lots of guessing required. 3 points if you have to rely on intuition. 4 points if a smartphone is sometimes required. 5 points if the signage is sufficient but the path is inconsistent. It gets 6 points if the signage is sufficient, but there are some inconsistencies in the path design. 7 points if the path is consistent, but the signs could appear more frequently. It gets 8 points when it's easy to follow with minor inconsistencies. It gets 9 points if complaining would be nitpicking, and full points if even a blindfolded cyclist would find the way.
Infrastructure. A cycling route should cater for cyclists' needs. We need something to help us get out of trouble if we have problems, and we'd like to refill our bottles on the way, so we don't need to transport so much heavy water, and a nice bench to stretch our legs when we need a break, and frequent rubbish bins so we don't turn into a waste disposal truck. We have come across many lovely routes completely lacking in any infrastructure, leaving us heading to the bushes when nature calls, or sitting on a dirty log or some wall to rest. Motorways have ample resting places, so why shouldn't cycle routes? Thankfully, there are some routes that lead the way, so we weight this aspect by a factor of 1.5. A sole point is awarded if cyclist needs are completely ignored. There's no water, no rest stops, no toilets, nothing. 2 points if there's a random bench somewhere but no real facilities. 3 points if some services are nearby but nothing specific for cyclists. 4 points if there are rest areas but they're basic and lack key amenities. 5 points if everything you need is there but it's in poor condition. 6 points if basic facilities are available but they could be more frequent. 7 points where most essentials are covered but some services are still missing. 8 points if almost everything is available and well maintained, 9 points if there are just a few minor things that could be improved, and 10 points if it's perfect, like every cyclist's dream, with top-notch facilities everywhere.
Accessibility. There are many cycle routes that can only be reasonably accessed by car. Others start at some hidden spot out on the fringes of a town. This means that some routes are actually quite difficult to access. Imagine there were no signs leading to motorways. Well, for a lot of cycling routes, that is the exact case. While this aspect doesn't affect the route directly, authorities do have all the options to integrate a cycle route into the surroundings. So this aspect is weighted by the factor 1. Only 1 point if the route is completely isolated. Good luck finding it. It gets 2 points if one end is accessible, but the rest is a mystery. 3 points if it's easy to find, but no safe bike-friendly connections. 4 points if it's connected to other routes, but lacks safe access points. It gets 5 points if major access points exist, but are tricky to navigate. It gets 6 points if it's basically easy to navigate, but some safety concerns remain. And 7 points when it's well marked and safe, but could use poor connections. It gets 8 points if it's connected to a well-designed bike network with public transport nearby. If it's nearly perfect, with just a small tweak needed, it gets 9 points. 10 points if it's fully integrated, well marked and easy to reach from anywhere.
Suitability for families. Of course, if you have no intention of travelling with children, you can neglect this aspect. However, if you are travelling with children, this will play a decisive role when choosing an appropriate route to cycle. And we wouldn't want to leave this aspect out, as we want to take good care of the next generation of emerging cycling enthusiasts and not discourage them. So this aspect is weighted somewhere between nil and double, 1 to be precise. We're down to 1 point if it's a total nightmare with steep hills, dangerous roads and 0 kids-friendly stops. 2 points if gradients might be minor, but there are still absolutely no services for families. 3 if safety is okay, but the route is monotonous and lacks rest stops. 4 if basic services exist, but it's still a bit dull for kids. 5 if it's safe with occasional rest stops, but it's too narrow to cycle next to each other. 6 points if it's mostly dedicated cycle paths, but missing fun stops for kids. 7 if there are frequent rest areas with enough services for families. 8 points if it's a good mix of safety, services and family-friendly features. 9 points if it's really fantastic with playgrounds, picnic areas and a safe, enjoyable route. And 10 if it's really up to absolute perfection. The kids love it, parents relax and everyone's happy.
Did we miss anything? What do you personally look for in a great cycling route? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear your thoughts.
If this was helpful, hit that like button, it really supports the channel. And if you love cycling, subscribe for more route recommendations and bike travel tips. Thanks for watching and we see you on the next ride.
Bye.